Okay, we are recording.
Excellent. All right, let's call this meeting of the Old Saybrook Board of Education to order at 7:04 p.m. and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up on our agenda this evening is reports from the Student Board of Education representatives. So Joe and Megan, take it away.
All right, hello everybody. I'm going to start off agenda actually. I want to begin by congratulating Joe on being named as one of the 4,500 candidates of the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. These candidates were selected from nearly 3.6 million students expected to graduate from high school across the U.S. in 2021. Inclusion in this program is one of the highest honors upon graduating seniors, and the scholars are connected based on the basis of superior academic and artistic achievements, leadership qualities, strong character, and involvement in the school and community activities. So congratulations, Joe, on that. To continue on, we have our musical update. So students interested in performing this year's musical productions have picked their musical pieces, which have been affirmed by Lenore Grunko, the director, and musical director Jeremy Milton. Students will perform their songs on Monday, February 8th as practice so that the directors can get a sense of the songs that will be performed. And after that, rehearsals will be scheduled after school.
Moving on to a quick sports update. The girls basketball teams have been on hold for a couple of weeks because there was a positive case and possible exposure on Monday, the 25th. And so this went along with the quarantine that we had through school, which we'll get into in a minute. And so indoor track has continued to practice for the students that were in person still, that were not quarantined. And both basketball teams would be returning to practice today, Tuesday the 9th. But I believe that was probably canceled today because of online school. But I believe that for the most part, all the sports are back in action for right now.
All right, next up we have our Race and Equity Workshop. So the high school held a Race and Equity Workshop on Monday, February 8th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the priority was to facilitate discussions to make OSHS a more inclusive and equitable community.
That didn't actually end up happening. We wrote this last week, but yesterday, because of the delay, that was canceled and postponed to, I believe, February 25th. I'm just trying to remember from the top of my head from the email. But yeah, so that was canceled because we had short school yesterday, but that was rescheduled. I expected to have more information from that because I was signed up to be a part of it, but that will still happen later in February. And then moving on to the quarantine students, a group of students were quarantined and were learning remotely starting Thursday the 28th after being exposed on Wednesday the 27th. These students, this ended Saturday the 6th, and the students were back this week. Obviously, yesterday we had a short day, and then today we were online. But these students that are deciding to come to school are permitted to come back to school starting yesterday.
All right, and then lastly, seniors have just started to discuss and plan what the spring will look like with events such as senior trip and prom. The senior class is in hope that these events can be as normal as possible, but have started to look into some COVID-friendly options. That's all we have for tonight, but if anyone has any questions, just let us know. Thank you.
I do. Yeah. So it's Eileen Baker. First, congratulations, Joe. That's a huge honor for you. And
Thank
for
you so much.
Old Saybrook Public Schools. It's terrific. It's Presidential Scholar. Is that what it's called? Fantastic. My question, I just have two. When is the actual musical production?
That hasn't been decided yet.
Okay.
We're kind of moving forward tentatively, as most things are this year. At this point, rehearsals are kind of just going to be
I keep forgetting.
on a case-by-case basis. So we're trying to figure out when we're going to be ready. But I mean, I expect at some point, probably either late March or early April. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
It's virtual. I keep forgetting about that. And then also, do they know who was going to facilitate the discussions on race and equity? I thought that was really fascinating. Is there an agency like Anti-Defamation League, or who is going to present that?
I'm not entirely sure.
Jan knows.
Yeah, I don't know if Jan has any idea. Ferruccio.
I'm not sure about this particular one. I know that the last one was part of a gentleman from a local group whose name I will get for you in a moment because it's in my email. But I'm not sure if they're using the same person as they were last time. But I can probably find out for you in the next few minutes.
Oh, that's okay. No. And have that be, rolled out. And actually comes to fruition.
Yes.
Thanks, Eileen. Any other questions for Joe and Megan? Awesome. And congratulations again, Joe. Really excellent honor.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your report. All right, moving on to correspondence. Karen, do we have any correspondence to discuss?
No, we do not have any correspondence this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is our approval of our meeting minutes from January 26th. I'd like a motion to approve those minutes, please. A motion made by Alan, and do we have a second? Second by Cindy. All in favor, aye, or show of hands, aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so moved, thank you. All right, so next up is discussion of the 2021-2022 academic calendar. I can't believe that we're already at the point of the year where we're talking about a next school year.
Yeah, we are here. And actually, there was a lot of work done on calendar this year. Mrs. Pendleton runs that committee for the district. And it's a challenge because we've been disconnected now by the state from the regional calendar. For a few years, we were required to be in line with the regional calendar set by the RESC, by Learn. And that's no longer true. And so the school districts kind of go off on their own and tweak things a little bit. So that made it more of a challenge. And I think this year was even more of a challenge because we've enjoyed lots of flexibilities this year. We didn't have to have 180 days of school, though Old Saybrook does. We can use snow days as remote learning days. And so our eyes have been opened collectively to lots of different ways of approaching a calendar. So I think Mrs. Pendleton and the team, which includes Mrs. Broder from the Board of Education, really had their hands full with decision making. They're going to walk you through the calendar that they're presenting to you this evening. I will say that we did not consider including any of the flexibilities that we were given by the state this year because we do not know if they will exist next year. That remains to be seen. So hopefully this is the last calendar you've seen. I know we had 1 year where we had to reinvent them more than once, but who knows with flexibilities what that might mean as we enter September. Julie?
I think she's on mute.
I was saying that I just want to share how fun it is to chair a committee that no one ever unanimously agrees on anything. It's always a challenge, to say the least. We started with our calendar modeling after the Learn calendar, which is what we have typically done each year. We asked all of the representatives to go back to each of the schools and gather information. Several times we actually asked that. And we got some recommendations, not a lot on the basic calendar, but the one area that became the biggest controversy was the April break. So we then I worked with many of our area towns and polled them on which week they were going to select. Would it be the week of the 11th through the 15th or the week of the 18th through the 22nd? So after doing that, 6 towns that we were able to speak with who had already finished their calendars are the second week, 18 through 22. And there were 2 others besides learn that were was Region 4 and Region 17 that had the 11 through 15 date, which is the learn dates. So we ended up receiving some comments from others outside of the calendar committee. Got a lot of input on this. At the end of the day, we thought the 11th through the 22nd made the most sense because it also incorporated the Jewish holidays, which was really nice, and was the majority of our surrounding towns. And in the memo, I think I named them Guilford, Madison, Clinton, Lima, Lyme, Westbrook, Region 13, were all of the area towns that had selected that second option of 18 through 22. So we also included, the 2 PD days at the beginning of the year, 2 in November, 2 in March. We have reinstated the day off, November 24th, which is the day preceding Thanksgiving. That tends to be a big travel day. So that was a big wish of many on the committee. So that got put back in. And our first day of school ends up being the 31st because when we added when we selected the 18th through the 22nd in April, it starts with Good Friday on the 15th. So the prior week, which is the first one we selected, didn't require an additional day. So we ended up, teachers will come back on Friday the 27th and the 30th for PD, and then the 31st would be the first day for students. We have 5 half days in there, which is slightly less than we have done in the past. So that seemed to make some happy. We ended up with the 3 snow days being, or days, we'll call them emergency days, the 23rd of February, the 14th of March, and the 31st of May have all been built in. So one of the things you have to remember when you look at all of the area calendars that we spoke about is that our 3 days are built into our end date being the 16th of June. And you'll look at other calendars and you'll see that they're getting out the 10th or the 13th. But if you add the 3 snow days onto their calendar, you'll see it's pretty close to where we're proposing that we end. So that's pretty much the crux of what we discussed. Like I said, a lot of input where we didn't make everybody happy in the end, I can tell you that. But that's the proposed calendar for 21-22.
Any questions for Julie in regards to the calendar?
Julie, it's Eileen. I just think that it's smart to be able to give people Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It makes 100% sense. I mean, people who need to get ready, they need to do what they need to do, and they get resentful, and they'll take it off.
And it's a big family time, so it seemed to make sense.
Yeah, very much. Tell me about what your palm tree days are.
Well, palm tree days are when the snow is falling and when the winds are really, really whipping. It could be anything. I thought palm trees look better than snowflakes.
Mm-hmm. Also smart to align with majority of the shoreline towns that are taking that week. Makes sense.
That's good. It's hard, like I said, to align with everyone because obviously there's a split on a lot of these.
But it's 6 towns, versus 3.
So
Right.
Jean and Julie, you're looking for a motion to approve the calendar this evening?
That would be wonderful, yes.
Okay. Do we have other questions or comments in regards to the calendar? All right. If there's no other questions, then I'd look for a motion to approve the 2021-2022 proposed academic calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the 21-22 calendar, academic calendar.
Thank you. We have a second on that? Seconded by Karen Slake. All in favor, aye, or a show of hands? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so moved. Thank you, Julie and Jan.
Thank you.
Next up is the healthy food certification. Always a favorite topic.
Always another one that doesn't make everybody happy. But we feel it's the right thing to do. This is exactly what we've done in prior years. It served us well, I believe, and we would be moving forward through the state regulations and all of the current regulations that are in effect now. We're kind of wondering if things might change, but we would want to stick with healthy food certification.
Makes sense.
It allows for an exemption for beverages and food that can be sold at events, and we always apply for that exemption so that once again, when we have a normal year and we can have concessions and different types of fundraisers and things like that at athletic events and the plays and all of the things that we have grown to love over the years. Those types of sales of food and beverages can be sold at those events as well.
Great. So questions for Julie in regards to either and we can kind of, I think, cover these, 1 and 2, since they're both related, the healthy food certification and the non-compliant beverage exemption. Any questions in regards to those?
I just had a question for Julie, and maybe it's just I didn't understand. So food items that are not sold from vending machines or the school store, those are things then that can be sold or not sold?
So our vending machines are part of our healthy food certification.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, if they're vended from the machines, then that goes through the channels of being certain,
Right.
juices and water and things that are approved. If we have an event, things like soda and Gatorade and those kinds of things can be sold.
I see. Except that our machines don't have soda and all those things in them.
Correct. So it's sales through concessions.
Tara, just as a point, we'll need 2 motions, one for the healthy food and the non-beverage.
You bet. Thanks, Trent.
Thank you.
So other questions for Julie in regards to these topics? All right, so to Trent's point, we'll take these in 2 motions if there's no further questions. The first motion is for approval of the healthy food certification. Do we have someone to make that motion?
Make a motion to approve the healthy food certification.
Thank you, Eileen. Do we have a second? A second by Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. All right, all in favor, aye, or show of hands, aye. Any opposed?
I have a question for Sarah.
You'll have to wait. We're in the middle of the motion, Eileen, sorry. Any abstentions? I think I covered that, or any abstentions I got opposed. No abstentions. I think that was unanimous, actually. Thank you. So do you have a question? We moved on to the non-compliant beverage. Eileen, do you have a question?
I remember coming up at board meetings, somebody wondering if they could bring in birthday cupcakes and things like that.
So the answer to that is yes. The way to comply with that is it has to be 30 minutes after the sale of lunch, let's say. So, if you want to have a birthday party at 1:30 or 2 o'clock at Goodwin, that is doable.
It's based on each school and when they.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Julie. So we're moving on to the second motion, the non-compliant beverage exemption statement. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve the non-compliant exemption.
All right, moved by Eileen and seconded by Alan. Thank you, Alan. All in favor, aye. Or show of hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so moved. All right, next up is our spring evaluation prep. And before I turn it over to Karen, I was going to send a note out to the board, and I apologize, life got in the way, in regards to the board's comfort level with us conducting this evaluation the way we did the last one in the fall, which was in person. And, I would just say, if everybody's comfortable doing that, we'll conduct it the same way we did then. socially distanced. And unfortunately, we won't be able to serve any food or beverages or whatever, at that meeting. But I would say if you've got, concerns or questions about that, to reach out to me, and I can, happy to answer those. But if everybody's comfortable with that, that will be our plan for this next meeting on the 23rd. All right, so I will hand it over to you, Karen. And
Okay,
Jan.
it's just quickly, I just want to take a moment to sort of review the agenda and ask if anybody has any additional topics of discussion they want to add to it. What we typically do is Jan will give us a general update on communication, on climate, certainly COVID. We'll talk a bit about the progress we've made with the Guiding Coalition team for the strategic plan. So give you a sense of progress on that. We'll have one more meeting with that next week, so we'll be able to give you a little bit more information. And other than that, Jan updates on her goals. But if there's anything else anybody wants to add to the agenda, this is the time. Jan, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Just that I'm planning to use the same document that I used in October. I'm just updating that on about every 2 weeks. I've been updating it on action steps, and that'll be just the easiest way for me to present it to you, unless somebody has any objections to that.
I think that makes sense, Jan.
So Karen?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it may be on the agenda. I know it's come up before. I've spoken to Jan about it, so I know it's going to be operationalized. Just a concept of anti-bias training for board members.
Okay.
The reason I'm mentioning that, I know that Carl Fortuna is working with CCM, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, to do training for staff. And I just thought it might make sense. We should just talk about it, and see. I remember we talked about it earlier, and maybe that's going to be part of, the strategic plan, as Jan was mentioning, and how, we're going to be going about addressing these things in curriculum or equity workshops or community conversations, or what we plan to do. But it's a thought.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Karen or Jan? All right.
All right, then we'll see everybody on the 23rd. Is it 5:30 with
23rd.
Ann Littlefield?
Yay, and I look forward to seeing Ann. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and last up is our residency request. Jan?
Yes, we, during this particularly crazy, difficult year, we still have families moving in and out of district. And we have a family that's moved out of district who is requesting that their child, who is at the middle school, finish the academic year here in Old Saybrook. He's meeting with success. The parents are very happy with his success here. The principal of the middle school has no objections to this. He's in good standing. And both she and I support this request, and we're asking the board to approve that he be allowed to remain at Old Saybrook Middle School through the end of the year, providing that he maintains his academic standing and is in good standing with his behavior.
Any questions for Jan in regards to this request? All right.
What grade is the student in now?
That's the second time tonight you've stumped me, Eileen. I believe it's 6. I believe it's 6. And by the way, the other answer was Elijah Manning.
Oh, I see, a student. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, I make the motion.
Thank you.
Residency.
To accept the residency. Do we have a second for the motion? Seconded by Karen. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so moved. And so before we wrap up, just some reminders. We've got our next meeting that Karen and Jan just discussed at 5:30 on the 23rd of February. We've got our regular meeting on March 9th. And hopefully you all saw the possible town meeting on March the 2nd. And I'm sure there'll be more information to follow about that.
Yeah, on that one, it's a March 2nd, it's a hold in your calendar for the public hearing on the town's budgets, including the Board of Ed budget. I do not know if those will be in person or virtual, so there'll be more information coming, as Carolyn Barrow said.
Great. All right, and with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
By Eileen, do we have a second? Karen, second, thank you. All in favor, aye. Sure. Any opposed? No opposed, no abstentions. Thank you. All right, and so Trent, if you can organize our recording, that would be great.
Thank you, and Megan.
Yep, Joe and Megan, you get to go. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, we'll just give Trent a second. I think the recording stopped, Trent.
Not yet.
Just give me a thumbs up, Trent. I